One of the things that when I was working with students that I realized really started causing them to sound a lot more natural was when we started taking a look at what was going on with their consonants and with their vowels. Because a lot of us are coming from languages where the consonant sounds are very, very strong. And the impact that that has on the vowels, that the vowel has to get shorter because you're trying to fit more of a consonant than the vowel into a tight space. But what we've realized with American English is that American English is so much more focused on vowel sounds. It really wants to give a lot more space to them. You know, if a lot of other languages are giving like 80% of the energy to the consonant sounds and 20% to the vowels, well, American English is doing the opposite of that. It's like giving 80% emphasis to the vowels, 20% to the consonants. And today I want to demonstrate that to you by taking a look at a couple of audio files that were sent to us. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Schwa Mill. This is your American English pronunciation review show. What we do is we take two audio files that were sent to us in our private Telegram group. Actually, it's not private, it's public. It's free. You can join it too, and you can send us audio, which would be great. Um, and we take two files and we just listen for them and we talk about things that are happening that we like and things that are happening that are maybe taking us away from the accent that we desire. And to guide you in this journey, there is me. Hi. My name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the four keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to strengthen your vowel sounds. And so today, tomorrow, and on Friday, right around 7 a.m., we'll be looking at your files. It'd be great to look at one of yours, and maybe it would sound something like this. Let's see what sort of feedback we can give to our first file for today.
And my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler. But once I went to school,
Okay, I'm gonna play it one more time, and I want you to notice a couple of things that are happening again with the relationship between some consonant and some vowel sounds here.
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler. But once I went to school,
There's a couple of places where, well, overall, what I do want to say is that I'm hearing a lot of breath. I'm hearing a lot of linking, a lot of airflow. Like there's a lot of things happening here that I think sound very, very natural. There's a couple of things happening here that, in my opinion, sound a little bit less natural that I want to target. The first thing,
and my parents' first language is Bambara,
that R sound on first is interesting to me. It's an R sound that comes before a consonant sound, like the S in first. And what we see, this is especially a feature in lots of other types of English, is that when you have an R sound that comes before a consonant, sometimes it disappears. So in this case, for instance, the word first is determines like first, like when my parents first came, my parents first came.
and my parents' first language is Bambara,
First languages versus first languages. What I would say about R sounds is that what we want them to do in American English is we want them to be present but not dominant. I was actually talking to a new student recently, who's actually he's a British actor, and we were just kind of talking about some of the differences between American English and British English, and this was certainly one of the things that came up. So I need a little bit more of a present R sound in the word first,
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke,
and you can hear other R sounds that are sounding great, like that. For instance, that R sound in Bombara.
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler. But
The next area I would talk about is that word spoke. Compare how I say spoke, which I spoke as a toddler, which I spoke as a toddler.
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler. But
We get instead spoke, which I spoke as a, which I spoke as a. So what's happening here? A couple things. First thing is that consonant to vowel proportion. We're giving a lot more emphasis to the P, and we're giving a lot more emphasis to the K. So we're really cutting into that time. So instead of saying oh, we're just doing a real short oh. Making that vowel shorter makes it easier for the placement to go higher where we project from. So we're projecting from a higher spot, and we're also limiting the breath. So those three things together: a heavier consonant sound, less time for the vowel, um, less breath, and a higher placement or changing spoke into like spoke,
And my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler, but
which I spoke as a toddler, which I spoke as a toddler, versus which I spoke as a toddler, which I spoke as a toddler.
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler, but once I went to school, I
And then the last one I would say is that little part, like once I went to school. Notice on the word once, that schwa sound gets a little bit cut once more. And in school, it feels like the placement goes a little high and we cut off a little bit of breath. I would have said that as like once I went to school, once I went to school.
and my parents' first language is Bambara, which I spoke as a toddler, but once I went to school, I
Once I went to versus once I went to maybe it's also on went. It's either on once or on went, somewhere around there. Something's getting a little bit compressed as a vowel sound. Um, I would like to lower the placement and give it a little more breath in time. But thank you to our first person for sending this file. It's greatly appreciated. Hard to do a review show. I say it's a lot hard to do a review show if you have nothing to review. So I appreciate everyone sending us files. We're always looking for new ones as well. Let's take a listen to our second file for today.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
All right, I'm excited for this one. Play again.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
Okay. Thanks again for sending this file. I was really excited to see this file because this is from someone that I know has followed the channel for some time. So it was really exciting to see this. So thank you for sending it. It's great to hear you. So, some context for this as well. This is a tongue twister. And one of the keys when you're doing a tongue twister is the goal is you kind of have to say them fast for them to have the maximum effect, and to really practice. And so this is not, I imagine, how we talk in like a natural conversation. So I do want to start with that caveat. Let's play this again.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
Okay. One of the things that's happening here, we'll talk about consonant sounds, but I want you to notice what's the just kind of the general music that we have here.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
The general pattern is doing something like duh, 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 duh. There's a lot of that repetition, right? Sometimes the first talk group is like duh, 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 and then we fall back into that pattern. Okay. Um, so that's the first thing when we're talking is we want to try to start identifying where are the patterns we're falling into and how can we break it them. Okay, so we don't want to end up being too repetitive. Once or twice, okay, but once we have a longer section and we see that it's occurring over and over and over again, it might be time to start thinking about how can I shift the intonation rhythm. Maybe I need to change where I put the stress. Things like that. So I would say just kind of pay attention to the music here. Again, understanding that hey, this isn't actual speech. It's an exercise. It's a tongue twister. Some other things that are happening.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
Okay. We mentioned R sounds, so I wanted to touch on some things I mentioned for the previous audio. So we have some R sounds that are slightly disappearing. For instance, at the end in the word warming up your voice, warming up your voice. So again, always watching out for R's before consonants. They need to be there. Don't take over, but they need to be there. Warming up your voice.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
Okay. Some other things that are happening as well.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise.
Okay. I think the biggest thing here, and also just for tongue twisters in general, a lot of times tongue twisters place a lot of emphasis on consonant sounds. Not always, but a lot of them. And that's what makes them difficult. One way you can make that easier for yourself is again, instead shifting that focus onto the vowel sounds. So, for instance, the first phrase here is like saying a tongue twister. What's the rest of it?
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment, otherwise.
Okay. Like saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Okay. So, if you're practicing a tongue twister, it may be helpful to start off just doing the vowels of the phrases that you're saying and then applying the music to it and then adding the consonants back in. It's like Anga with air. Anga anger. Sang a tongue twister. Anga air. Sang a tongue twister. Anga air. Sang a tongue twister. Um, things like that can help smooth it out and things. And I also say that because I think if we can get the vowels solid, what it's going to do is it's going to also add some more air because the vowels are kind of like the motor of words. They need a lot of air. They give breath to the word. If you take out the vowel sound, you're left with the consonants, and consonants have a hard time pushing breath. And the more we can get the air going, the more we can gauge the diaphragm. So we can get a lower resonant sound, a warmer sound, which in turn can help us lower the placement. Because when I'm listening to this file, what I'm hearing is a placement that's a little bit high. I'll give you an example.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Otherwise,
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. You hear, especially again, we see that O sound. We saw this with the previous file as well with spoke, I believe. Same thing here with moment. Instead of moment versus moment. Which also gets into another idea that you can do to try to weaken some consonant sounds and maybe give more space to your vowel. Is you may have seen some videos I have on the channel called like the straight lip challenge where we just smile and we try saying a phrase like saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Because one of the things that we're hearing, for instance, on the word moment is that M sounds really starting to interfere. Um, so that may be another exercise to try here to try to get the placement a little bit down, a little bit more space to your vowel sounds. Because I'm hearing more oh versus oh. And that could also just be because when we're saying that M sound or that O sound, maybe we're doing like mo versus like mo. And you can hear the difference in the vowel sound there when I do that. Maybe a final note.
saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Otherwise, you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
The last thing I'll say is that when you're going from thought group to thought group, I can hear kind of the breath stopping, and that's resulting in a sound that's a little bit choppy.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Otherwise, you said wrong, and it has the added benefit of warming up your voice.
Especially here at the end, like, and it has the added benefit of warming up. So it's like da 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 da. That movement is a little bit jumpy. It's kind of sending me a lot of spaces very quickly. Versus like, and it has the added benefit of that's all linked together. Versus, and it has the added benefit of you hear a little bit too in the first part.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment.
Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the like I feel like I'm being kind of jerked around in a lot of different directions. Versus like saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Saying a tongue twister forces you to be in the moment. Just again, really trying to link things together. All right, guys. If you found feedback like this helpful for pronunciation, things like that, I also just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, which is us. We have a program called the Magnet Lab. It's basically you, me, and a couple other students. We meet 3 times a day, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and then additional time on Fridays. And basically, we're taking a look at video files that you send of us of yourself speaking. This is great if you're trying to get more comfortable on camera, if you're trying to get more comfortable in conversation, if you're trying to understand what are you actually doing with your body, what can you do with your face, what can you do with your speech, your voice to become not only more understandable, but to actually become the kind of person that people want to listen to and come closer to listen to and things like that. It's called the Magnet Lab, short for magnificent or magnetic expression. And I want to help you become, not just someone that can speak English, but can actually become someone who can communicate in any language in a way that people want to listen to and engage with. You can find more information about that at fluentamerican.com/magnetlab. Thank you all for hanging out with me. There's a lot of pronunciation resources out there. So the fact that you're here with me today is appreciated. I will see you all later. Hope you guys have a good day. Have a good night. Good afternoon. I will see you tomorrow morning right around 7 a.m. New York. Take care, guys.